But I think I solved my leak problems in here where I had connected plastic to metal barb fitting, and I used PVC glue, dumb idea. Also, I used PVC glue between the PVC and this plastic, which I assumed would be fine and it would help seal it, but that didn't work at all either. So I ended up using PTFE pipe thread compound and yeah, pipe dope basically, and that's made a good seal, so I don't have any leaks, and nor at the banjo bolt. Okay, good. So no leaks, nothing there, and nothing at the banjo bolt. Okay, good. So dumb mistake on my part. I thought I could get away with that, putting PVC glue between a metal fitting and a plastic fitting, and all it did was cause it to jam sooner before it could thread all the way. I thought, well, that'll still make a good seal, and it didn't at all. So use the right stuff is all I'm saying here. And I knew better. I don't know why I thought I could get away with that. And you can see the water level here. It's still pretty full. This is about the 250-gallon mark right there. I don't know if that'll come out in the camera or not. So there's the 1,000-liter mark right there. So, all right. So we moved most of the plants outside, mostly just to make room to work. I'm going to be bringing the wheelbarrow in and out right here with sand and gravel and more sand and then dirt, of course. So we went around with the chisel and just scraped the sides like this over the whole thing, just to knock off any sharp edges. And then I went around with the glove and a gloved hand and just felt it, and everywhere it hung up, I'd go back with the scraper and knock stuff off. So did it all the way around, got it nice and smooth, got most of the bottom edge chipped off where I had big pieces of concrete sticking up. And so there shouldn't be any sharp edges. The next plan is to, I want a grade from here down to that end down there. So that way when the water comes in right here, it'll kind of flow down this grade. And if I go to drain it from a drain, I'm going to put down at the very bottom there, I'm going to have a valve on the other side of that wall that I can open up and just drain everything out, and then replace it with fresh water or fresh nutrients or whatever I want to put in there, and treat it sort of like an aquaponics. This grade has to be, a normal plumbing grade is 1/4 inch per 1 foot of run, right? 1/4 inch drop per 1 foot of run. So this is 20 feet. And so I should have 5 inches of drop. So I measured up here 7 inches and I measured up there 2 inches. That way I still have 2 inches of sand underneath my EPDM rubber. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I'll still have, and I'm building my grade with sand. So I was originally planning on digging it down a few inches on that side and slowly grading it back up this way. And then I realized I'm only going to lose a few inches if I build it up here with sand, like 5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I would gain a little bit of depth over there, but I'm not sure that's going to be that great advantageous. You know, I don't know if that's going to do that much for me. So less work. I'm just going to go ahead and put sand in there. I've got a big sand pile out there. I'm going to just go ahead and use that. I'm going to go ahead and stratify it down so there's no pebble rocks in it. Even though those pea gravel size rocks, they're nice and soft and round, I think they'd be fine. So in any event, I may just not stratify it because that's more work, more shoveling. Okay, so the next step is, of course, to go ahead and put the sand in with the slope. We'll get that slope built in along that string. And I thought about putting a string over here, but it's not going to need to be that exact. I'm going to just try to make it as level as possible across here with my little 2-foot level. I'll just go ahead and use the 2-foot level on a little board and just make sure it's mostly level. I'm going to go ahead and pack it down by walking on it a whole bunch, wet it, pack it down, wet it, pack it down. That way it doesn't settle. And then, of course, the next step will be 6 mil plastic throughout the whole thing, up the walls, around the sides. That'll just be an extra protection barrier for my EPDM rubber, so it won't be against this rough stuff. And then we'll put the EPDM rubber in. And, of course, I'll do videos on how I execute all that. All right, got the sand in. So again, the string here on this end is 2 inches above grade. And of course it's flat all the way across here, and up there it's 7 inches above grade. So I've got 5 inches of drop between that end and this end, which is 1/4 inch per foot, because this is 20 feet. So 1/4 inch drop per foot of run. I just use my little 24-inch piece of a 2x, and then the 24-inch level. You don't have to, I didn't have to make a level, but I wanted to make it pretty much as flat across from there to there as possible. I don't know if give it a good soaking. Tamp it all down. I'm gonna let it dry. Hopefully it'll help it harden up a little bit, and it won't wallow around too much while we're putting plastic and EPDM rubber in it. But it probably will some. And that's okay. That's why we put 2 inches of it in. All right. So just for a perspective shot, this is going to be water comes in, flows down this way through the gravel, ends up down here. This pipe down here is going to have holes drilled in it. I'll show all that later. That right down there is going to be a drain that I'll have a valve on the other side hooked into so that I can open the valve. This will have holes drilled in it here. It'll be under the gravel and under a rock bulb. You'll be able to see that later as well in the next videos. But I'll be able to open that valve and drain the whole thing out. Also, this will be an emergency overflow. This will be right at the top of the gravel where the water level is going to sit at the top of the gravel. And then if it goes up above the gravel, it'll outflow that over past my valve and into the drain, so that if it does actually fill up too full, it'll automatically just drain out. Okay, so kind of emergency drain thing there. Okay, this will be an inspection tube as well. You can kind of see from here the wet cement on the top and also on the bottom down there. So that was my poor prior planning prevents piss. Was that the 5 P's or something? Let's see. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Oh, that's 7 P's. Okay. Well, you can see how much I actually pay attention to that rule. So no, it is sort of poor planning, but I really didn't know what my depths were going to be at the time. I hadn't decided on how deep my gravel was going to be, how deep my sand was going to be, how deep my dirt was going to be, where I wanted all this. So I really knew I just wanted to build the wall, and later I could drill a hole in the wall and go ahead and put my pipe through. So that's what I did. So I've got 1.5 inch pipe here and here. This will be my overflow. This will be my drain down here. And I'll finish the plumbing later and give you a shot of that, but I just want to talk about where I've come so far. As far as drilling this concrete out goes, I had bought a hand chisel, right? But yeah, doing that by hand. I had no idea about this tool right here. Okay, so I've had this tool for 18 years, and what I mean by I didn't know about this tool was that, so this is a 1 inch Sds Rotary Hammer. I bought it 2002 or 2003 for some concrete projects I was doing, and it's fantastic. It'll bore through concrete like nobody's business. And this is just one of the bits right here. So yeah, it comes with some really short bits, and I think it was only like 70. It wasn't very expensive. This thing wasn't very expensive. I want to say like 75 bucks. I may be wrong. But it was under $100. Anyway, so I had no idea. I've always used it as a SDS Rotary Hammer, which is this setting right here, hammer, drill. I had no idea about this setting. I'd seen it, but I hadn't paid attention. If I flip it around this way, it turns into a jackhammer. It doesn't spin, it just goes in and out, and that's where I use this bit. And that turned out to be, made it super easy. So I just drilled some holes. None of this was here, of course. I just drilled 4 holes around the square, around where I wanted my pipe, like one here, one over down here, one here, and then busted that out. And then to clear it up, I just used that jackhammer thing with that jackhammer bit, and it just busted right through it. So that tool, it just saved me tons of time. I thought I'd be doing this for a day, and it just really took, about 20, maybe 30 minutes at the very most, because I did have to cut a little piece of rebar out there that I crossed. Anyhow. So there's a rule that says organized people are just too lazy to look for their stuff. I say that when I can't find something and I'm very disorganized. That's what I tell myself, of course. So I guess the corollary to that would be people that plan ahead are just too lazy to make adjustments on the fly. So, of course, I'm saying that tongue in cheek, and that's what I'm telling myself when I didn't plan for something, because I don't do this every day. This is not them. This is not my profession by any means, but it's fun learning and it's fun seeing this come together. We're gonna let that concrete set up. Tomorrow, I'll take this. This is not glued in. I'll just take them off. I'll take that cap off. I want those pipes free, and we'll go over how I put the EPDM rubber over those pieces right there.